With Takealot, you get a lot for less. Not just starters, not just mains, but dessert too. And that's what we're about to get into right now. Imagine a crunchy churro filled with a milk tart filling. Yes, I did it again. I'm fusing South Africa with Spain. Come join me as we make a dessert that is fit for kings, queens, and everyone in between. I'm super excited to share this last recipe with you, and I'm gonna keep repeating, yes, I'm the queen of Afro-fusion, so I wanted to make sure that I also keep that theme with our dessert. We're gonna be making 2 desserts in one, with a churro base that's gonna be filled with a milk tart filling. Now, if you know anything about pastries, you know that a choux pastry has to be done on a hot stove, but we need to start by first getting our water in there, and then I'm also going to add our sugar and salt. That's about 1 tablespoon of sugar and then a bit of salt. And we're going in with our butter. We just want our butter to melt. The sugar is slightly almost dissolved. Our butter is almost dissolved as well. And we're just gonna let those 4 ingredients come together before we add our vanilla essence and our flour. All right, our butter is melted. I've just switched my stove off because I also don't want to overcook or burn what we've added in there. Our vanilla essence is the last to go in because we don't want that vanilla flavor to cook off. So we're just adding it at the very end, stirring it in, making sure to keep it on the heat, and then we add our flour. This is quite an interesting step because you need to make sure that everything gets mixed together, but you also don't want to leave any dry bits out. So let's just fold it in together there. All right, and this is exactly what you're looking for. You want your dough to come together, very easily form a ball if you needed to. And because our stove is off, we're not cooking that flour anymore. Everything is done to our liking. Our dough is ready now. All we need to do is pop it into this bowl because we do need it to cool down slightly before we add our eggs because we don't want our eggs to cook into this mixture. So in essence, what I'm making is a churro sandwich with a milk tart filling. Can you just imagine a nice crispy churro that's been fried to golden perfection and a smooth, creamy milk tart filling? Finish it off into a dunk of milk chocolate and cocoa nibs on top. That right there is a treat worth having. So let's finish that milk tart filling then. To start us off, I'm heating up my milk because in essence, we're also making a custard filling. It's just instead of adding too much of the eggs and so forth, we're not making an anglaise, we're just making almost like a white sauce but on a sweet version. We're also then going to add some condensed milk, which thanks to Takealot, you can get a lot for less if you shop on their site. We let that go in there. Did you see that beautiful drizzle? So we'll let that dissolve. We're also going to add our vanilla essence into this. All we're trying to do is we're trying to heat up our milk part of our recipe. There we go. Not cook it. We don't want it to bubble. We just want it to get up to temperature. Pinch of salt for good luck. And then get to the base of the custard, which is where the egg and the cornstarch come to play. 1 egg, 2 eggs, and some cornstarch. The idea here is that the cornstarch and the eggs are going to create our base, our custard base, which we then loosen up with our milk filling. So as you can see, what this is going to help do is also ensure that we don't have any lumps in our sauce. So we just keep mixing that up as best as we can. And you do want to do your best to get those lumps out, otherwise as they cook, they will create lumps in the actual sauce. Our custard base is ready, and this is when I check on my heat. My milk is ready because if you can touch it without having to jump, then it's hot enough. And look at that easy pour again, thanks to Carrol Boyes and these Flow cookware. And yes, as you can see, I'm doing a double motion here of pouring the milk, the hot milk, into the egg because we do not want the milk to cook the eggs. We just want it to bring it up to temperature so that by the time we put it onto the stove, it all cooks at the same rate without scrambling our eggs. Our pot back onto the stove, just turn it down slightly, and then we add our cream base back. And now this is the part where you have to be a drill sergeant. You have to watch it because it seizes up really quickly. This is the point where it actually starts to thicken up. Right, I think our sauce is ready. fact, I'm gonna give it a taste just to make sure that that corn flour is cooked through, because we don't want corn flour flavor. Delicious. Perfect. Not too sweet. Like I said, if you want to add more sweetness, you're welcome to. I'm not going to. I love it just the way it is. And let's put it into another bowl so that it cools down, because we've got another step we have to add here. If you're afraid of lumps, you're welcome to strain it through a sieve just to ensure that you get a nice, smooth consistency. But I'm super happy with this. Okay, this is ready. Need to get it into the fridge, but before we do so, we need to make sure that we wrap it. And while we're doing that, to make sure that it doesn't form a skin on the top. And as you can see, I'm making sure to touch the actual surface of the cream tart filling, because we want to make sure we don't have any parts that are missed by this plastic. And there we go. Let's put her into the fridge, and we'll see her a little later. Let's finish up our churro pastry. You know what would pair perfectly with our milk tart churros? A wild Africa cream liqueur. Why? Because of the creamy, caramelly notes that work so well with our milk tart filling. And as it is due to preference, you can either enjoy it with ice or at room temperature. And doesn't it look just gorgeous in these Aura glasses? But I still have to finish my churro, so let me get started with that and finish everything up so I can show you what this delicious dessert looks like. Our dough is completely cooled now, and just in time for us to add our eggs. At this point, it is important to make sure that you add your eggs one at a time. The reason for that is that you don't want your dough to be too soft, and you don't want it to be hard to pipe. You want to be able to pipe everything together. You want to make sure that you don't have any pieces of egg that are not cooked. You don't want any pieces of egg that are not mixed in correctly. So as you can see, I'm using a spatula because I just want to basically softly add the egg, make sure that it's incorporated before I add the next one. At times, because you remember, flour acts differently at different times of the year. So you might find that the one time you add one egg and that's enough, and then another time you might need to add more. Just watch it and see what works best. And there we go. Looks like I only needed one egg this time. Now let's put this baby into a piping bag. You don't want to overfill your piping bag as well. I make this so often that I have so many batches in the fridge, but I just want to show you guys exactly how to pipe these sandwich rolls that we're about to make. I've got my piping tip already in. I've made sure that my dough is soft enough to pipe, and then all we're going to do is pipe it from the center to the outside, and there we go. And then I'm just going to do a couple more, because we need to get these babies into the freezer. But like I told you, I make this recipe so often because my son loves it, that I actually have a batch in the freezer. So I'm cheating it. I don't want to do this every single day. I love the recipe, but my baby, I can't do this every day. So mommy always has a backup. Put these ones in the freezer and take out the ones I made already. These are those ones I was talking about that I made ahead of time. So we're going to fry these up. We just want them to be nice and golden brown. And as you can see, they'll hold their shape, and this is part of the reason why we want to fry them, because we want them to keep, that's the sound I like to hear. We want them to keep this circular shape throughout the entire cooking process. If you were to cook them immediately while they're still soft, you run the risk of it disintegrating while it's in the pan. So we're just shallow frying ours right now. You can also deep fry them. It all depends on what you've got and what you want, but let's let these babies fry up, get golden brown. If your oil gets too hot, switch it off at its highest and then continue to let it cook, and then switch it back up again, because what you don't want is you don't want a brown outside and a raw interior. So you want it to cook through evenly from the outside in. All right, these edges look nice and golden brown, which means it's time to flip. Look at how easy it is to do with our Carrol Boyes slotted spoon. And so while those keep frying up, let's get this baby ready, because we're going to put these in here. And I think whether you're an adult or a kid, you'll be very excited to enjoy this dessert. Yeah, these babies are ready. Let's take them out. And not only is it nice and crispy on the outside, it's got this beautiful design that just makes them look gorgeous. Okay. Hot ones out, cold ones in. Okay, I think we're making a lot of good progress here. So, while they're cooling down, because they're still warm, we do want some additional flavor to be added to it. I'm not sure if you noticed, I didn't add the cinnamon to our milk tart yet because our churros are gonna get that cinnamon sugar on the outside. So that ties that milk tart theme throughout the entire dessert. So let's just do this, roll them into some cinnamon sugar. And while they're sitting here, they're gonna absorb that cinnamon sugar flavor, get nice and crispy. And then at the same time, they're gonna cool down so we can actually start finishing up that filling. My son loves this part because then he gets to eat the sugar. I don't know what it is about kids and sugar. Last two are also ready. So let's get these babies over here. There we go. As much as I enjoy cooking, I also like to make sure that I keep myself safe and correct hygiene. So safety first, let's move this oil out of the way so it isn't a danger to anyone. So I'm just gonna coat these as well with some cinnamon sugar. Okay. Piping bag in hand, I think we're ready with this. As you remember, I made that milk tart filling, no skin, thanks to the plastic wrap. And then some whipped cream. So I'm just gonna add our milk tart custard in there. And then just add about half. And let's pour half of our cream into our milk tart because we want to make sure that we get rid of those lumps, but we also want to make sure that it's nice, light, airy, and so that when we add the last part of our cream, everything just works together. Ooh. Let's put this into our piping bag and pipe these churro sandwiches and indulge in our dessert. Into our piping bag, we add our cream. As you see, I've made sure just to hold it there at the center so that it doesn't pour out all the way. It's time to pipe our filling into our churro sandwiches. Let's get started with these.
Hello, Mama.
Hey, baby, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. And
I'm
you?
great. I've been missing you.
What are you doing?
I'm making a dessert that I know you absolutely love. Churro sandwiches with our milk tart filling. I know you like churros a lot, so I just decided to add a bit of additional flavor to it. So I'm gonna fill these up for you. Cool, do you mind just passing me that spoon, Papa? I think I want you to help me drizzle some of this
Here you go, Mama.
white chocolate onto our churros, and I wanna see your creativity. I'm gonna do one, and then you're gonna do one. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do mine first. So I'm adding some white chocolate to mine. And I'm gonna add some cocoa nibs. Let's do that. And that's Mommy's adult, fancy, delicious, cool one. And then yours, what you're gonna add? I've got a surprise for you. You know what you can add? Some chocolate Easter egg kisses. So you can just add them on the very top there. I want you to have it, but I feel like, are you gonna be able to talk after this? Let's have a bite. You take yours, I take mine. Cheers. Delicious, right? We've just come to the end of our series with our delicious churros, with our chicken, and with our empanadas. And I hope your family enjoys it too. So from my family to yours, happy Easter.